You're listening to WACW, Wilmore, Kentucky.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
My name is Matthew Barnes.
And I'm Ty Shad.
In baseball, there's a location known as the bullpen, where pitchers can warm up before they take the mound.
But it ends up being a place where guys just chew bubblegum, build brotherhood, and talk sports.
This show is our bullpen, just two guys who love sports tackling the big topics.
So come join us. There's plenty of room in here. We'd love to have you along.
This is The Bullpen on WACW. Man, I always love hearing that music, just that little intro. It's always fun to just know that the show is about to start. An hour of a good conversation's about to start. This is The Bullpen on WACW. My name is Matthew Barnes.
I'm Ty Shad.
I'm Sam Roberts.
You know, if you guys are tuning in with us on a cold, freezing cold day like today, we really appreciate it. This is a day where classes were canceled. I'm sure you guys liked that. Did you? Because I liked it.
Oh, never a bad thing. Never a bad thing to wake up to that.
Yeah, it's
class canceled text.
Pleasant surprise that I'll always take.
And we risked hypothermia to get down to the studio today.
We did.
It was a brisk walk there.
It was a little chilly.
Fun.
I had to wear, my warmest jacket, and it's worth it. It's always worth it to get in the studio. And every building basically was closed down today, but we were able to get into Miller because the show must go on. We cannot cancel an episode of The Bullpen unless we absolutely have to. So we are on, just like always. You can always expect us unless something severe happens. We'll try to always have perfect attendance. So we have a lot to talk about. We no longer have college football, but we still have NBA. We still have college basketball, and unfortunately, this will probably be our not our last week of talking about NFL, but next one will be our last one talking about NFL because
it's winding down.
Super Bowl Sunday coming up. So NFL is nearing its end, but we still have a little bit more time to talk about that.
And then we have to wait for the draft.
Yep, and then we have to wait for the draft. We'll have some off-season stuff to talk about with the NFL. They always give you enough to have conversations with. So we're going to start it off just like always with the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's just kind of our way of breaking down the week. And, we're thinking about maybe even changing it to, like, great, good, and bad because a lot of times it just seems like there's too much good happening out there.
We're optimistic guys.
We're optimistic guys.
We
like to,
well, except for Sam.
Oh, come on now. That's not fair.
We like to keep it positive, and so we're not going to do that this week, but we're thinking about that change in the future because it's kind of hard to come up with two terrible things that happens every week. We find a way to do it, but we like to hit more of the highlights. But we're going to do good, bad, and ugly this week, and so I'll start it off with talking about the team that I talk about a lot. I hope I don't get the reputation that this is all I know because I know other teams.
Well, let me just make this statement before you go into this. To counter the point you just said, Matthew said earlier he wore his warmest jacket down here. His warmest jacket is also his only jacket, and it's not even really a jacket. It's just a red
it's
U
a
of L hoodie.
It's a hoodie. Hey, that thing is actually surprisingly warm. If you ever put that on yourself,
nah, don't have to worry about that, buddy.
Yeah, I'm not touching it.
It's wool on the inside, so the thing is the thing is very soft. So it may not be like your typical winter coat, but as far as keeping me warm, it does a pretty good job.
It's soft, just like Louisville's big men this year.
Hey, watch it there, Buckaroo. You know what? We're gonna start with Louisville basketball. So 23, ranked number 23, which honestly, just being ranked at all last week was a highlight for me, just because I wasn't sure we were gonna be ranked. They've been kind of a little iffy on us the whole year as far as the AP goes, but they put us at 23. And then we followed that ranking up with a win over NC State, who was also ranked. And then a tough win against Pittsburgh, who actually gave us a run for our money in the first half. But we pulled it away in the second with a tough defensive performance. And we were rewarded heavily for this. We moved up from number 23 to number 15. Granted, Louisville had some luck as far as teams ahead of them losing, which forced them to move back. We had some good graces when it came to the teams above us, but Louisville has been playing some great ball right now, and as we speak, Louisville's playing Wake Forest right now. I'm trying to keep up with it on my phone to see what's going on. It's halftime, and they're already up on 23 against Wake Forest, who's a terrible basketball team, but we should have another pretty easy win here. So, Louisville's playing great. We play North Carolina on Saturday. They're going to want revenge because we smacked them in Chapel Hill. And we play them at the Yum this time, so we'll see if we can repeat history. but I think it'll definitely be a closer game this time. But the way Louisville's playing, I wouldn't put it past them to go 2-0 against the Tar Heels because we are playing great basketball, and I just love to see that we were rewarded for it. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I got. So I just love my Cardinal basketball, and we're kind of on a hot streak. So Ty, what's your good?
Mine and Sammy's Cincinnati Reds have been getting some press for the first time in a long time. It started out with a little MLB Network talks. So, MLB Network, they should talk about the Reds because they're a baseball team.
They should.
Surprisingly, they don't because they're not very good. Made their way up to ESPN, had a few nice traits, people talking about them then. And now we've got some celebrities on Twitter giving them shout-outs. Most recently, Darius Rucker, the famous country singer, tweeted out his prediction for the World Series was the Reds. Granted, he's a homer. He's a bit of a homer, but still, a lot of people are hearing about the Reds that usually don't. So it's exciting to be a fan of this organization right now. They've really made a lot of strides to get better.
It should also be noted that Emmy Award-winning TV star Rob Lowe also is taking the Reds as his World Series pick too. Cincinnati native Rob Lowe and Cincinnati native Charlie Sheen also taking the Reds this year too.
Well, there you go. The Reds, or maybe the Reds are the celebrities team this year. We'll see.
Lakers of baseball.
That'd be something.
Yeah, that's a stretch, but I don't know baseball, but I will say this. Reds getting Yasiel Puig kind of gives them a big name, at least to market around.
It'll be a little bit of a spark. Yeah, but bigger
Yeah.
than Puig, what they've acquired this offseason, I would say, is pitching. They've gotten Sonny Gray, who is a very, very much proven MLB pitcher with the Oakland Athletics. Went to the Yankees last year, and he struggled a lot. But the vast majority of his struggles came at Yankee Stadium. He couldn't quite live up to that New York pressure that a lot of athletes feel, especially those who play for the Yankees. So everybody kind of had the feeling like he's a small market player. He does well in front of those crowds. If I could compare it to the NFL, it'd be like, he doesn't play well in primetime games. Maybe it's just like a syndrome I have because I'm an Andy Dalton fan. Can't play well in primetime, but he can play okay at Sunday at 1 o'clock. That might be what Sonny Gray is. So bring him down to Great American Ballpark. We're desperate for anything here. So even if you struggle a little bit, we're going to like you. They got him. They also brought in Tanner Rourke. And then also Alex Wood. Is that
Yeah, Alex Wood from the Dodgers.
Yeah, and that might be the best of all of them. So they made a lot of strides to get better for a team that's lost like 90 games the past, I don't even know how many years. Too many to count.
4 straight years of 90-plus losses.
So,
That's not very great.
as long
It's
as
not good.
they're not going to win 90 games this year, I would feel pretty comfortable saying that. I wouldn't go Darius Rucker level and say World Series, but I would say 90 losses would be a very big disappointment for this team.
Well, then I'm going to go to my good then. A little bit of favoritism here, nepotism, if you will. University of Kentucky's won 7 straight games, 3 in 7 days, beat 3 ranked opponents, beat number 14 Auburn and Alabama, smoked number 22 Mississippi.
In Alabama.
I got
what you're saying.
in Alabama.
That's correct. Yeah.
Came back to Rupp Arena, beat Mississippi State by 21. Mississippi State was ranked 22 at the time. Big games for College Game Day was in Lexington for Kansas, Kentucky, the SEC Big 12 tournament or challenge or whatever.
Yeah.
And Kentucky got not a good first half, but they got the job done, won by 9 at Rupp. So.
And they toppled Vandy last night.
And they absolutely demolished Vanderbilt, 88-52, 36-point win.
So they're playing good basketball right now.
Playing good basketball. They have Florida on Saturday. That should be a win. Big game, February 16th, is Tennessee. I've got my tickets for that game. But back to my point. Kentucky is playing good basketball right now. A lot of the media types who talk about college basketball are very impressed with Kentucky right now, and I am too.
All right, Matthew, give us some bad.
Yeah, so this was actually the night of our last bullpen broadcast. It was during our show, really. So I'm going to count it for this week just because we didn't really have time to hit it last week. But this is a really, really unfortunate chain of events when it comes to the NBA. Aspiring All-Star, he might not have been an All-Star this year, but it would have been a close call. Victor Oladipo, the head guard for the Indiana Pacers, really, really great player. And it also seems like a really likable guy. I've never really had any problems with Victor Oladipo. Seems like a good person, easy player to root for. He had a really scary a knee injury while he was trying to chase down a fast break on the defensive end, and it's diagnosed as a ruptured quad tendon in the knee, which is actually, according to CBS Sports, pretty rare. But it's going to sideline him for the rest of the season. Really tough diagnosis that it wasn't just going to be a week or two to recover. This is going to last the rest of the season. It's not only really unfortunate for him, it's unfortunate for the entire Indiana Pacers team because
they're third in the East right now.
Yeah, they were third in the East, or they still are. I mean, but like I expect that to slide down now because he is a pretty high chunk of their scoring, and he's really just a floor general that kind of keeps that motor running. And so, I mean, it's not that they're an awful team without him. They still have other players that are solid and competent, but really it was his team that he was kind of leading. And so I definitely, if they do make the playoffs, they'll probably be a lower seed now, like a 7 or 8, and their chances of making it deep in the playoffs
without your best player
pretty much shot.
Yeah,
and especially, the East, it's wide open. There's really no clear-cut favorite. I mean,
you have Toronto and you have Boston.
There's better teams, but it's
Yeah.
still not like the West where you know pretty much who's going to be the ones playing to go to the finals.
There's definitely upset potential in the East.
Absolutely, and that certainly is looking lesser than greater with Oladipo out.
Yeah, and it's just I mean, obviously it sucks for the team, but I really feel for the player because it's always tough to see an entire season sidelined, and he was playing good once again. And he's a great player. I hope that he recovers fast and bounces back, but definitely a tough setback.
Well, he was having the best season of his career, and to make your case, I personally think he was an all-star in the Eastern Conference at least this year. But yeah, his best season of his career gets cut down by a really rare injury that happens so rarely in sports. And the worst part about a ruptured quad is there's no surgery they can do on it. It just has to heal by itself. So he basically has to sit on his couch for months.
Mm-hmm.
So, really sorry to hear that because I really like watching him play.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah, tough break for Depot. But my bad is Kansas Jayhawks. Lost 3 in a row now. First to Iowa State, then to Kentucky last weekend, like you mentioned, Sam. And last night they dropped one to an unranked Texas team. So they're definitely on the skid. Really, their season just seems to have been winding down since Azubuike's out for the season with that injury. So, I mean, is there any recovery for this team? I'm not sure. I'm not sure how far they're going to fall now because they'd still kind of been lingering around the top 10 despite losing to Iowa State, and even the loss to Kentucky only put them back, I think, at 11.
Yeah, they went down to 11.
This one was bad, though, and I could see this one being one that sends them into the higher teens, I think.
They're not good right now. I'm not going to say they're out, but they're certainly down.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with their backcourt and the fact that Dodson's still playing okay basketball, but Quentin Grimes, a man that looked like a force in the Champions Classic, has really gotten nothing but worse as the season's progressed.
Yeah, he's been a little absent.
And he's just shooting terrible percentages. He just doesn't look comfortable out there. He's not taking good shots. He's just kind of forcing things rather than letting the game come to him. He was supposed to be a really significant offensive piece for them this season, and he hasn't really lived up to that expectation. You still have Dedrick Lawson.
Yeah,
he's still balling out.
The
Yeah,
few
he played
times
a
I've
great
watched
game
him
last
play, it's just been the Dedrick Lawson
He's the
show.
only real consistent player on the Jayhawks team. You used to have Azubuike, who is not always going to be consistent from the scoring element, but on the defensive end and just a rebounding
you feel his presence.
Yeah.
He was just their rock when it comes to guarding the rim and just kind of being a force physically. And now he's not there. They don't really have a backup center who can really fill that role. I mean, they have guys that can obviously see the court and do all right, but they definitely feel his loss significantly, and they're just a much worse team without him.
Yeah, well, I think Azubuike, I'm not saying Kansas was going to beat Kentucky because I think Kentucky played a great game, but Azubuike, I mean, Reed Travis destroyed Kansas. He absolutely mugged whoever they were putting on him.
And he probably wouldn't have destroyed Azubuike.
No,
like that.
Azubuike was actually a good physical matchup for Reed Travis. But this backup guy, I don't even remember his name, but Reed Travis just cooked him. Reed Travis went for 20?
Yeah, he had a really good game against Kansas.
Yeah.
And so, we'll see where the Jayhawks end up. Much respect to Bill Self and what he's done with that team over the years. I mean, it's not that they're a bad program or anything. They're just having a really tough slump. And unless something drastic changes, they're probably not going to get out of it anytime soon because the Big 12 is actually a little bit better this year, I would say, than normal. And we'll see if that streak comes to an end of them winning conference championship every single year. That's not a guarantee this year. We'll see how it ends up.
No, watch out for Texas Tech in that division.
Yeah.
Just my word of advice. But my bad, the perennial embarrassment of the National Football League, the Pro Bowl. It was an absolutely terrible game with if you're going to at least not try, score 50 points. It was 20-7, and they weren't trying. There were 6 turnovers in that game.
And well, like, so they try to make it entertaining by like, oh, you see Alvin Kamara out there, he's running D end, or Ezekiel Elliott.
Ezekiel Elliott's playing middle linebacker. Mike Evans is. Evans.
He had an interception in
Mike
the game.
Evans had an interception. Saquon Barkley had a fumble recovery.
Yeah,
so
Saquon Barkley was in there. It's like, oh, that's kind of
Mike
cute.
Evans and Saquon Barkley are playing safety. Saquon also took a snap at quarterback, for goodness sake.
It just felt all more like it was just like a skills competition, kind of show like
football.
a throwaway thing more than any kind of like all-star game.
It felt like Thanksgiving Day with the Cousins. I mean, it was like at least the NBA All-Star game, they score 200 points, so at least it's fun because there's dunking. MLB All-Star game, it's actually competitive because they're playing for something.
Matters.
Actually matters for World Series home field advantage. But the NFL Pro Bowl, it doesn't matter. Guys from basically the 4 teams that make the conference championships and the 2 that make the Super Bowl, their players don't play in that. They all drop out because they're all beat up. And so, I mean, what's the point of this? The skills challenge was lame. The game was terrible. There was no effort, or even, at least if you're not going to try on defense, at least make it a 63-56 game, not a 20-7 game with their 6 turnovers in a monsoon. It's an embarrassment, and the NFL needs to do better.
Yeah, and I think the weather did play a part in the unenjoyability.
It was an absolute. They were playing a monsoon. It was mud. They're slipping and sliding all over the place. I understand that, but
Yeah, I mean, like, I didn't really expect anything different. So, while it is bad, I've never really watched the Pro Bowl. I didn't watch the Pro Bowl, so I'm not going to act like an expert. I just looked at some of the highlights afterwards and stuff, and I saw the score, and I'm like, wow, this actually wasn't high scoring. And then I look at the statistics, and I'm like, there's not a quarterback on this field that's thrown more than like 8 passes, and like the leading passing guy as far as yards only threw for like 36 yards. It's like there was just no offense, and I think the weather had a lot to do with it. But it was just a boring game. I mean, there was no. I would rather see. I mean, obviously, I don't want to see a 60 game either, but I would rather see that and see Patrick Mahomes taking a 50-yard shot downfield every single play than just see like these guys just playing positions that they're not supposed to be playing and see them just showing absolute no care for the game at all. I think the All-Star game in basketball is really improving every single year, and I actually look forward to that this year.
Oh, yeah, it's fun.
But I don't look forward to the Pro Bowl at all.
No, nobody does because nobody cares.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on.
That's pretty much all we got. That's pretty much all we got for that one. Now, we're going to get to my ugly, and that is okay, so once again, this is 2 weeks in a row. This is why we might be going good or great, good, bad, because like I had to bend the rules. I wanted to include this, but it's not really ugly. I'm kind of finding a loophole. I'm going to call it ugly just because I guess you could say that their behavior is kind of ugly. But once
it has to do with the Raiders, too.
And they're ugly. So I guess I can kind of get away with this.
Yeah,
but
that was bad.
I'm sure a lot of you Bullpen listeners have probably seen the show First Take. It's one of the most popular debate shows on ESPN. I used to like it. Now I hate it. I just can't watch it. It's just really annoying. But like the other day they were talking about John Gruden and on the show, and because he's the coach of the Raiders, Derek Carr got thrown into it because they were talking about if the Raiders were going to draft Kyler Murray or if they should think about drafting Kyler Murray. And Derek Carr was they kind of took a shot at Derek Carr, just talking about how as if they knew how he felt. Like it's like Max Kellerman was trying to read his psyche. They were really just saying some things about Derek Carr that just were really outlandish. And Derek Carr obviously heard it because he didn't take it too kindly. He was upset. He put out on Twitter, he said, "This is because I blocked them both for talking trash about our team. Those 2 clowns don't know anything about this game. Would love to actually sit and break down film with these 2 on TV just to show their viewers how incompetent they are." Like he pretty much just goes and roasts them or how incompetent, they are about our game. And like then he goes out. He didn't tweet this, but apparently he said it to somebody because it leaked or whatever that he wanted to challenge either of them to a UFC fight. Like he wanted to fight them.
He's making Kevin Durant smile somewhere.
Yeah, I know. It's like he's really going just like all out as far as defending his honor, defending himself. And so Bovada, who's like a really popular like betting page or whatever, they actually put out odds to if Stephen A. Smith got in a UFC fight with Derek Carr. And
what were they?
Stephen A was favored to win. That's the funniest part.
I don't know about that.
Stephen A.
I mean, come on, Stephen A's.
He's 51 years old.
51 years old. Derek Carr's 26. I mean, come on now.
Okay, and Stephen A. Smith would not step in a ring with Derek Carr.
Oh, he wouldn't.
Stephen A. is all talk.
And Stephen A. Stephen A. was not trying to talk himself up. He came out and tweeted. He said, "Wow, these odds are a disgrace. ... to Derek Carr. So, like, he actually defended Derek Carr there, saying, like, I would stand no chance. He's younger, he's stronger, he's taller, he's faster, he's got a better reach. Like, my fighting days are over. I mean, Stephen A. did not try to act like he would win.
Well, Stephen A. used to be a boxer in his day, but those days are long gone. I mean,
Stephen A. was favored to win. He was at minus 130, and Derek Carr's at minus 110. For those that know betting terminology and stuff, that basically means Stephen A. would be the betting favorite. But, like, I just think that it was funny, just the whole situation. And they, the First Take guys have actually invited Derek Carr on the show, apparently, and he said no, like, he didn't want to be on the show. So it does kind of make Derek Carr look like a little bit of a hypocrite, because he said he would love to sit down and talk with these dudes to show how incompetent they are. And they asked him to do that, and then he said he didn't want to do it. So, I mean, it definitely makes him look a little bit like all talk, but, I mean, I don't know. It's just funny to see the analysts and the players kind of butt heads, and the fact that the media just really rolled with it. I mean, Dana White, the commissioner of the UFC, was actually started getting asked questions about, like, if that could ever happen and stuff. Like, it's never going to happen, guys, but, like, it's just funny that it was teased that it could.
Sure enough, yeah. My ugly is got to do with the Super Bowl Media Day. I'm sure everybody's familiar with Barstool Sports. They're a very popular kind of blog and just social media attraction. Make a lot of jokes. Everything they do is really satirical. And they pretty much had two guys, Dave Portnoy, who's kind of like the founder of Barstool, and then PFC Commenter, a guy who works there, and he's a really big internet personality. They pretty much like snuck into Super Bowl Media Day, and they're going up to, and they do this every year. Or maybe they get credentialed, whatever may happen. They didn't get credentialed this year. They just kind of get in, and they're going around and just asking these satirical questions to all the guys at the podium, and they end up getting kicked out, and PFT commenter, I believe he got arrested. Portnoy got off without any charges, but he got like a ban from any Mercedes-Benz location anywhere. Like, he can be arrested on site if he goes there. And I say this is ugly because, I enjoy some of what Barstool does. I think that they have some funny things out there, but there's a space and an audience for their sense of humor and for their antics. And the Super Bowl Media Day is neither the space nor the audience. Those are professional journalists who are in there doing their job, and they shouldn't have to put up with trying to get a question out over some guy who's there just to get like 300 retweets on Twitter. Like, that's disrespectful to the journalists who are there to do their job, and I don't want to be one of these guys who like I'm some kind of hero for standing up for the hardworking journalists, because I'm not, and I don't want to cast that impression, but I do think what they did was wrong, and they're coming out trying to play the victim card like it was so wrong they got kicked out. No, you were in the right to get kicked out, and the security was just doing their job, and I think that what they were doing was almost disrespectful to the hardworking journalists around them, as well as even some of the players and coaches who were there trying to have a serious press conference or just say whatever they want to get it over with. I just think that their actions were inappropriate, and I believe that they were justified in getting kicked out.
Fair enough. I agree with you there. But my ugly also comes from today, and that is the absolute embarrassing, pathetic, disgraceful press conference that Roger Goodell held today. Roger Goodell is a disgrace to the National Football League. This guy, for 12 years, has bumbled his way through a job he's not qualified to hold because his daddy was a senator, and he
Dang, Sam, go in.
No, this guy does not. He of course he's going to be asked about what happened in the Saints-Rams game with the pass interference, but he did not even. First of all, he flat out lied. He said he had talked to Sean Payton and the Saints players, and all the Saints players immediately go on Twitter and said, no, we never talked to Roger Goodell, so he lied. Second of all, Roger Goodell has no understanding of what needs to change in the National Football League. When asked about this, he dodged the question, said the refs were human, and they are. Refs can't make every call, but there needs to be some accountability, and his stark dismissal of accountability is absolutely antithetical to what he needs to be doing as commissioner of the National Football League. When there is questioning of the legitimacy of this game, it's time for him to stand up and take a stand and make the changes. And if he refuses to do that, he needs to resign, or the owners need to come together and grow at least a collective spine between them and tell him to get lost. That's the end of my rant.
I love it. We don't get too many rants on this show.
Sammy on the soapbox
and
over there.
We have to have one every now and then just to keep us all interested. So we thank you, Sam, for for just kind of spitting off a little bit all your disgraces with Roger Goodell. That was pretty funny. But it's also accurate. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. I agree. Roger Goodell, not a huge fan. But it's just it's funny to see how that was delivered.
So there's this picture going around on Twitter today, and it was actually, I believe this is a Barstool Sports thing, funny enough. They created this shirt that's like a navy or a baby blue, kind of maybe teal, and it's got Goodell's face on it with like a red clown nose. And Sean Payton was giving a press conference later in the day, and he's up at the podium with like a white little pullover, like half-zip thing. And he's got it zipped, like or it's barely zipped at all. And you can see like the little top white part of what looks like Goodell's hair. I'm not sure if this was photoshopped or not. It's funny nonetheless. And everybody's saying, is this the shirt that Sean Payton is wearing underneath that pullover? And it was the one of Goodell wearing the clown
It wouldn't
nose.
surprise me.
Wouldn't surprise me, and frankly,
Payton was very
I don't
mad.
blame Sean Payton at all if he did that. So
It's funny stuff. All right, well, that's all we got for our good, bads, and uglies. Yeah, let us know if you want us to keep it how it is. I mean, we like doing good, bad, and ugly, but we might consider changing it to great, good, bad, or I don't know. We might change the wording of it. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But we're gonna keep doing something of that regard though, just to break down our week. So we're gonna move into our actual topics.
There's a big game coming up Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there might
very
be
big game.
yeah, it just might be a thing.
It's probably gonna be my good, bad, and ugly next week. We'll see.
I feel like it's going to be
possible.
the lion's share of the show next week anyway.
Yeah,
so.
we're definitely going to be talking this next week, but we're going to talk a little preview for it this week. It's the Super Bowl. This is the game that almost every American sits down for. My mom does not know anything about football. She watches the Super Bowl. I know a lot of people who know nothing about football. They sit down and watch the Super Bowl. This is just the show that almost everybody tunes in for, just because there's going to be Super Bowl parties, there's going to be chips and platters landed out, there's going to be people just sitting down, watching it for the ads.
Lots
Some
of those
people
good
watch it
buffalo
for the
wings.
ads. Yeah, they're going to eat some buffalo wings, and they're going to watch some football. This is a big game. We have Rams. We have Patriots. Two teams that have been great all season. Two teams that are playing their best football right now. We kind of predicted it a little bit last week in our just like our NFL score. Maybe we did that a week too early. Who knows? All I know is we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about it this week because we kind of put it at this tail end of our show last week, and so we're going to get more in depth into what we think. So the first thing that I'm going to ask you guys is, do you think this is going to be a high scoring game, or do you think it's going to be a low scoring game?
Well, that depends. I think that if the Patriots are going to win, they're going to want to keep this to a more low-scoring game. Not that I don't think their offense can keep up. I just think that their offense isn't as tailored to explosive plays as the Rams is. So if the Rams are going to win, they're going to want it to be a high-paced, fast-scoring game because that is where their offense succeeds best, whenever they can set up that play action and Jared Goff can hit Brandon Cooks or Robert Woods deep.
I 100% agree with that. If the Patriots are going to win, it's going to be both teams scoring under 30 points, in my opinion. Obviously, the Patriots can go for a lot of points. Tom Brady's always going to be a threat, and he has big play threats on this team. But the Rams are so accustomed to this. If you want to see what the Rams are capable of in a high-scoring game, look at obviously the Kansas City game, the 54-51. They aren't going to... The Rams in high-scoring games just do enough to win. But I think the Patriots, they're going to have to get to work if they want to stop the Rams from making big plays. And the Patriots do really want to keep this a low-scoring game because that's how they're going to succeed, is a lot of 3-and-outs, a lot of punts, try to limit turnovers.
Yeah, I think there's definitely going to be a lot of pressure on some of these Patriots cornerbacks and stuff like Stephon Gilmore to make big plays and limit players like Brandon Cooks with the deep ball, because I think Jared Goff, I think that Jared Goff in the beginning of this game will probably kind of ease into it. I think they'll probably give him some 5-10-yard passes just to kind of let the arm warm up. But I do think there will be deep balls thrown in this game. And I think there will be more deep balls thrown on the Rams side of things than there will be from the Patriots side of things. We have enough footage from what Bill Belichick does in Super Bowl to kind of know what most likely, we might not be able to get every play like Tony Romo does, but we kind of have a decent idea of how he's probably going to approach this game. But Sean McVay, young offensive mind, this is the same guy that has his punter throw passes a lot of times. He has an innovative mind. I guarantee there will be one or two plays in this game that no one really sees coming. There might be a 3rd and 1 or something where you think, oh, it's definitely going to be a run. No, they throw it 40 yards downfield because that's what McVay does. He's unpredictable. I think that the Rams are probably going to have to win if it's a high-scoring game, just like what you guys said. I think if you look at the Patriots' history, when they lost to the Giants, those were more high-scoring games. When they beat the Falcons, they held them to under 30. When they beat the Seahawks, they held them to under 30. When they played the Eagles and lost, over 30 points. I think that they tended to lose the Super Bowls that were more high-scoring games. They've won the ones that were, decent defensive efforts at least.
Yeah, if you look at the scores of the ones they've won, the first one, which was against the Rams in 2000, 20-17. They beat the Panthers 23-20. Eagles was 31-21. Then they lose to the first time they played the Giants was 17-14, but the Giants defense played the game of the century. But that next time they played the Giants, 38-31.
How does he know these all off the top of his head?
I do my research for this.
Hey.
I take the show seriously.
We appreciate it.
And then when they played the Seahawks, they won 28-24. Lost to the Eagles last year was 41-33. So, yeah, the Patriots do have a history of losing the high-scoring ones and winning the low-scoring ones. But that's just the way Belichick likes to play. And for the record, it should be noted that this is the 12th Super Bowl Bill Belichick's been a coach in. So
it's so impressive.
Yeah,
and the matchup that I'm really looking forward to watching in this one is Aaron Donald versus just the Patriots offense, to see how Belichick and Brady kind of scheme against him. I was watching First Take this morning, as a matter of fact, and Danny Amendola was a guest on the show. He was a wide receiver with the Patriots for a few years, won 2 rings. Now he's with Miami. But the hosts were asking him about who the Patriots offense should fear most. And he said Aaron Donald. And his reasoning was because, if a guy is an edge rusher, it's a little bit easier to get protection because you can always bring in a tight end. You can have a running back kind of chip him or even motion a wide receiver in for help. Whenever it's a guy lined up right over the ball like Donald, he's going to be getting, one-on-ones the majority of the time because it's hard to scheme another guy over and keep things kind of the same with the balance of the offensive line. So that's how Donald is able to be so disruptive, because he's very agile and strong, and also because of his positioning on the field. So, I think there's a lot of potential for him to be a game wrecker for the Rams, but I also know that if there's anything Belichick does well, it is scheme the other team's best player out of the game. So I'm very interested to see what that looks like Sunday.
Yeah. You go ahead, Sam.
Sorry, Matt.
You're good.
Donald is going to get the one-on-one matchups, and because of the way he lines up as a nose tackle, most of the times it's going to be against a center who just snapped the ball and has to react and has the late reaction. So, and even when Donald isn't getting sacks, the guy's an influence on every single play.
Well, and you also got Ndamukong Suh right next to him.
Yeah.
So
and he's no scrub, man. He had 14.5 sacks this year. Yeah. The Rams have a great defensive line, an elite defensive line. The Patriots have a great offensive line. This is where the battle's going to be won. Yeah,
this is a game. Donald is going to make his presence felt. He's not going to be invisible on the stat sheet at the end of this game. I guarantee it. He'll have some batted balls, just maybe a sack or two, maybe a few disrupted plays. I'm not saying he's going to be useless, but I do think, like you said with Belichick, I do think they will find ways to kind of slow him down. And that's not disrespecting Donald. He's fantastic, but I think that overall the Saints did a decent job of slowing Donald down. It wasn't that he was useless in that game, but most of the plays you saw at the end of the game or down the stretch were by Brockers or Dante Fowler. They were, for the most part, were able to slow Donald down. A lot of doubles. They found ways to take him out of it. I think the Patriots will do something similar. I don't think Donald's going to be the reason the Rams win this game if they win. I think it'll be some of these other guys on the defensive line that benefit from the attention that Donald is getting. I think Donald gets so much attention, so much focus, that opens things up for Fowler, for Brockers, for Suh. And that line isn't just Donald and a bunch of scrubs. It's 4 to 5 really good players. None of them are bad. So I think it'll be some of the other ones that get involved.
In my opinion, this is just me talking. Whether the Rams win or lose will be determined by 2 players, and that's the safeties, Johnny Johnson and LaMarcus Joyner. That's going to be how this game is won and lost. Is how good they play.
Yeah, I think this will be a close game, and you know how Brady is in close games, especially throwing downfield to guys like Edelman. I think that there will definitely be some holes there and some opportunities for Brady to throw. Those guys are going to have to step up and making open field tackles and limiting the big play. But we're going to move on to the next discussion. Still Super Bowl though. So you've kind of seen this change of usage when it comes to the Rams offense. First 12, 13 weeks of the season, it's like Todd Gurley is the dude. Todd Gurley, best back in the league, was looking like. Then he goes down with a little bit of an injury, sidelined for a couple weeks, comes back, is able to play on the field, but no longer are they giving him 25 carries a game. They're splitting them carries with C.J. Anderson, who's actually been highly productive in those weeks and also looks like a really good back. They use C.J. Anderson way more against the Saints, and they don't show any signs of stopping his usage at all. So, I think Anderson will definitely get touches. But really, the prediction that we're trying to make is, will Todd Gurley be limited once again, or will they finally let Gurley be the lead back?
Well, what really has to happen in this game for the Rams is Gurley's just got to play better overall, not even just running the football. In the beginning of that Saints game, a ball slipped off his hands and was intercepted, and that was really early on. Of course, they bounced back, but still, you can't have things like that happen, especially on catchable balls. He only ran 4 times for 10 yards versus the Saints, and I wonder exactly what the cause is for that. Maybe they're just trying to feed the hot hand, and that had been C.J. Anderson that game. But, like I mentioned earlier, Belichick is known for scheming the other team's best player out of the game. And even if he's struggled recently, I still believe Todd Gurley is the Rams' best player. So I strongly suspect that Belichick is going to have a game plan in place to limit Gurley as much as possible. And it's because of that I say that Gurley is not going to be the reason the Rams win this game or lose this game. This game is going to be determined by Jared Goff's play. He's going to have to step up to the plate and deliver. He did it against the Saints. Can he do it again against a superior team in the Patriots?
Well, with Todd Gurley, he did have, 2 touchdowns in that Saints game? Or
I think he's had 1.
Just had 1?
Yeah, and it was like a 1-yard touchdown.
It was a 1-yard
he got
touchdown
it in the end zone,
run.
but
That was,
he only had 10 yards.
Yeah.
He had 10. Yeah, it was not a good game by any means. But, when Gurley is playing like he can, who's going to stop him?
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm really curious about. Is like, it's not that C.J. Anderson's bad, but what you have with Gurley.
Not terrible.
How do you keep Gurley off the field?
Well, we know what he's capable of, and I'm sure Belichick's been sitting up late in his office, drawing up game plans for how he's going to scheme these running backs out of the game, the same way he's trying to scheme Donald and Sue out of the game, which is what Belichick's known for, as Ty said. But yes, maybe McVay has to ride the hot hand with Anderson. Maybe he has to just trust Gurley innately. I don't know. I can't speak for Sean McVay. But I do agree with Ty and you that it's going to come down to Jared Goff and what he is going to do when there's opposition, there's a little bit of pressure on him. How's he going to play? What's he going to do?
Yeah, I agree that I think passing will win the game, but I don't want to downplay the importance of the running game because, things are a lot easier on Jared Goff when he's having, 2nd and 3, 2nd and 2. I think running on first down, which happens a lot, is going to be important. You don't want to give Goff long 2nd and 3rd down plays whenever it's his first Super Bowl and he's only been in the league for 3 years. I think that you have to establish something in the running game or they're just going to blitz Goff the whole day and just constantly have a hand in his face and bother him. I think it's going to be important that the running backs do their job. Do I think the running backs will have 3 or 4 touchdowns and be the key factor? No, I agree with you on that. But the running game is going to be important if the Rams win this game. I disagree with you there. The running backs are huge. And it's just this tough decision on, do you roll with the hot hand, the guy that's been doing well for you recently, or do you trust the guy that got you there as far as getting the record you have? I understand that Gurley, isn't playing that great in the past couple games, but you've been giving him limited attempts to make plays, and you've been letting Anderson do it all. And so it's a Super Bowl. I know allegiances are all put aside, fan favorites are put aside. You do whoever, or you play whoever you think gives you the best chance to win. So there's no fanfare when it comes to who you play here.
No.
But I think that you have to trust the man who really got you where you're at, and that's been Todd Gurley. Don't get me wrong, C.J. Anderson's been fine, and he's really done his job, but when Todd Gurley runs the ball, he runs hard. It takes a lot to bring him down, especially if he gets momentum. He's had 2 weeks now to rest and kind of get back to 100%. If we see the Todd Gurley we saw in the regular season, huge one-up for the Rams.
Well, I would tell you this. If we do kind of see a similar split, what happened in the Saints where C.J. Anderson's getting a lot of the carries, it's because the Rams and Sean McVay and this staff and organization don't buy into the whole stick with what you got here. That's not – if they'd have done that, they wouldn't be where they're at playing in the Super Bowl right now. They do things differently, and it's because of that they're able to win these improbable games and pull things together and just kind of create this what's kind of become the standard of the league in a non-traditional young player – high-powered offensive game. They do things differently, and I think that trying to go back and stick with what got you there is something that kind of sets up for a loss. It takes me back to the 2014 maybe 2014 MLB playoffs whenever the Reds were in it against the help me here, Sam. It was the play-in game whenever Cueto had been injured for a long time.
That was 2013 against Pittsburgh.
And then Dusty throws him in to pitch because, he's been our ace all year, even though he hasn't been doing too well because he's coming off an injury. We're going to throw him in there, and he got shelled.
Oh, yeah.
So I am against the mindset of sticking with what got you there. I'm for the mindset of, stick with what's working right now, regardless of politics and names and who might be an MVP candidate or who's had the greater success overall.
Well, that's not what this is about. This is about doing whatever it takes to win one game.
Yeah, I mean, I get that.
This is one game.
We don't know what McVay's seeing in practices, though. I mean, Gurley might be back to 100%. And if he is, I mean, who's better? Todd Gurley in week 6 of fantasy or of football where he's dropping 28 fantasy points a week, getting 100-yard games left and right with 3 touchdowns, or C.J. Anderson who's been getting about 90 to 100-yard games on 25 carries or whatever. I think Gurley has the bigger upside. If he's playing 100%, he is the better player. And so then how do you keep him off the field? I don't know. I'm not saying I'm going to be mad if C.J. Anderson sees the field. I just think I would much rather watch a Super Bowl, with Todd Gurley, who has been a monster all season, being the one leading that backfield. I think he gives you the better chance to win. But then again, I haven't been in practice. I don't see what McVay's seeing. It's his call. Whatever it is, I'm sure it's what he thinks is best for the team. But I just think that's Todd Gurley. I don't know.
Well, real quick, let's all go name an MVP before it happens. Sam?
Shoot, I've been put on the spot here. But before it happens, if the Patriots win, Sony Michel. If the Rams win, Dante Fowler.
That's a bold take there.
That's
okay.
a bold take,
Sam?
Fowler.
I mean, Matt, apologies.
If the Patriots win, I'll go with Brady. I mean, call me cliche, but I mean, the dude, he always shows up in the Super Bowl, and they like to give it to offensive players who, you really see what they do on the field a lot easier. The Rams is going to be a little bit more of my unpopular pick. This is actually surprising, but if the Rams win, give me Brandon Cooks. He's playing his former team. I like the matchup with Cooks going up against that backfield of the Patriots or whatever with some of those cornerbacks and stuff. I think Cooks is going to break a couple loose. I'm not saying he's going to have a 200-yard game, but I think he gets in the end zone at least once, maybe twice, and I think he'll make some key moments in the end of the game on offense to kind of keep moving those chains, and I think it'll make it mark. Goff will have a fine game and, look respectable, but I think Cooks is really going to carry that team to moving the ball down the field. Give me Cooks.
I like that pick. That's kind of like whenever Deion Branch was the MVP years ago, whenever the Patriots won it. I'm not even going to give you an option for the Rams because the Patriots are going to win this game, and the MVP is going to be Rob Gronkowski.
Gronk, okay.
Gronk, man.
In his last career game because he's retiring after this season.
Yeah, he very well might. He said he wants to. So, and
first.
If he gets the MVP, he probably will. He'll go out on a high note.
I don't think there's ever been a Super Bowl MVP who's a tight end before either.
I don't believe so either. I mean, we could look that up.
I've got the list up right now. There hasn't been.
Okay, then well, I'd like to add a bit of caveat to mine, actually. I'd kind of like to say it's going to be a Patriots running back. I'm not saying just Sony Michel. I'm going to say Sony Michel.
Rex Burkhead gets a...
Or Rex Burkhead or James White.
If Rex Burkhead gets it, can we celebrate in Cincinnati? Is that kind of like the Bengals?
We can, to acknowledge Marvin's failure and Marvin's pathetic incompetence, wasting talent like Rex Burkhead.
Okay, we don't got to go there.
We don't have enough time to go on another one of those spiels.
They're fun, but...
All right, we really went.
The bad man's gone.
We really went a long time with the Super Bowl, and that's fine. We love talking football. We don't have a whole lot of more time to do it, so we're just kind of soaking up every second we can talk football. But we're gonna move on to basketball. And we're going to talk about the All-Star weekend, which is coming up. We're nearing that halfway mark, kind of where All-Star festivities are happening. And the starters were announced this week for the All-Star game. And the way this works now is, you have 2 captains, and it's a combination of fan voting, media voting, and player voting. And whoever kind of has the most of those 3 combined gets the captain slots. This year, you have LeBron James and Giannis, however you say his last name.
Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, there we go. The Greek Freak. That's just what I like to call him. You have those 2 as the captains, but the other starters are announced. You have 4 others from the West, 4 others from the East. And that doesn't mean you have Team West versus Team East.
Kemba's really a starter?
Yes, Kemba Walker's a starter.
Why don't I never think of him on that level, though?
Kemba Walker.
Is it because the Hornets
The Hornets are
bad,
and he does everything for them. He's averaging like 26 a game. He's been playing
When's he
best
going to
season.
join LA then?
I don't know. But
Seems to be the trend.
Every player is joining LA according to LA fans.
Well, the McCleary brothers assure me he's going to be an Orlando Magic player.
That's not going to happen. But all right. But so these are the starters. So from the West, you have Steph Curry, James Harden, Paul George, and Kevin Durant. And then from the East, you have Kyrie Irving, Kemba Walker, Kawhi Leonard, and Joel Embiid. I think that the starters were really, honestly, the right picks. I mean, I agree with pretty much all of them. And but the way it works is, those aren't the teams. The captains select their teams, and now it's just like a 5-on-5 pickup game, basically, with guys from the West and East teaming up together. And so the question is, if LeBron gets the first pick, which people are assuming he will, I'm not sure how the first pick is determined, but people are just kind of saying LeBron will have the first pick. How do you see this playing out? Like, who do you think is going to get selected first? Who do you think LeBron's taking then? Who do you think Giannis is taking? Kind of.
A question.
Yeah.
Is Carmelo Anthony eligible for both conferences?
Carmelo Anthony is eligible to play in the Chinese League.
He's eligible to play in the NBA G League right now. He might.
One wants him.
He needs to join the Asbury Eagles basketball team. He still might get smacked the way this guy's been playing. Yeah, I'm just saying. Carmelo's not going to be an all-star. I don't care.
Man.
I don't care about the sentimental vote at all. He's not getting it. All right, but how do you see this draft playing out? I guess I'll start just because, I don't know, I've been thinking this through a lot. I think LeBron's taking Kyrie Irving with his first pick.
Ooh.
And does that mean Kyrie Irving's the best player out there? No, he's not. Kevin Durant is, in my opinion. But I just think, LeBron has that history with Kyrie Irving, and I think he would just kind of feel almost like he's doing an injustice to not pick his brother in arms out there to be on his team. I think Kyrie gets taken first.
Well, there's a rumor that came out that Kyrie's going to leave the Celtics and go reunite with LeBron in L.A.
Yeah, they say that about every single player. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm just saying Kyrie's going to be a Laker. Klay Thompson's going to be a Laker. Anthony Davis is going to be a Laker. They think they're starting, and then they think KD's going to become a Laker. They think that the best team of all time isn't going to be the Warriors. It's going to be next year's Lakers team. They say that every year. They end up with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. So I have no faith in Lakers fans just being biased and saying they're going to get every good player out there. They're not.
Seriously, is there any elite player that Twitter isn't talking about that is going to be a Laker next year? I mean, come on. It's been 5 years.
They might get one of those 4, maybe, but they're not going to get all 4 by any means.
Like, Kawhi Leonard was going to be a Laker, and
yeah.
Sounds like a Warriors fan who's grappling with the reality of the situation over there.
No, it's not going to happen.
I'm not a Warriors fan. How dare you accuse me of that?
I just know how Lakers fans are. I mean, my best friend was a Lakers fan, and every single year he said, "Oh, we're going to get Westbrook this year. We're going to get Boogie Cousins this year." They never do. They were right with LeBron, so give them a clap. They were right with that one. They got LeBron. That doesn't mean they're going to have the Monstars on their team next year.
Well,
I'm not rolling with that.
Surely they're going to get Davis.
Maybe, but
I
there's
think
also
Davis is a lock for the Lakers.
I mean,
that's going to be fun.
It could happen, and I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying the Celtics are still in on the Davis sweepstakes. There's rumors that the Knicks are going to make a huge push, and with the Knicks, you may think
you leave the Pelicans.
You may think
to go to the Knicks.
You may think who do they have to offer? They're thinking about offering maybe Porzingis, and they're going to give up their first round pick unprotected. That could end up being Zion Williamson.
I just don't
that's
understand
tempting.
Why you do that if you're the Knicks.
I don't think you should either, but they're thinking about it. They're thinking about bringing the house to get Davis, and so I'm not saying he's not going to go to the Lakers. I'm just saying that's still an open bag. I'm not even going to call that one a lock. I mean, he's probably your best bet as far as getting a free agent, but I mean that's not even a guarantee. So I mean, I'm not listening to the Lakers fans. I'll believe it when I see it. But we're going to go back to All-Stars because we kind of got off track.
So where's Luka going to get picked?
I mean, they're announcing the reserves tomorrow. So, I mean, we don't even know if he's going to be an all-star.
Oh, so you have to be eligible as a reserve and then you get chosen?
Yeah, it's just like with the starters. They're going to say who the reserves are tomorrow, and that if you're not a reserve, you don't even have the option to be picked no matter who you are. So, like, Luka has to get picked as a reserve first, then he can be picked, and then we can have that discussion next week or whatever. But as of right now, he's not even an all-star, so we'll figure that one out.
He is going to be in the Rising Stars Challenge.
Oh,
so,
for sure.
I mean, yeah, they announced he's
Sometimes
the captain of Team World.
Sometimes those games is just as fun to watch as the All-Star game, in my opinion.
Yeah, because that's the future, and those guys are really good players. But yeah, how do you see this draft playing out? I have Kyrie going first. Who do you think LeBron would take?
Oh, I have no idea.
The NBA is not Ty's go-to.
I mean,
but he knows.
I thought you said Kevin Durant was a starter.
He is, but I'm saying that LeBron will pick Kyrie over Durant. I believe that. LeBron has the option to pick Durant. So is that who you're saying? He picked Durant first last year. They could pick whoever they want. It just has to be one of those 10 guys.
I'm gonna say he picks Joel Embiid
with the first pick.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't.
He's the best center in the league.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I just don't think he's the best player out there.
We need to go back to big men being the best players available on the board. It kills me that it's not that way anymore.
This is coming from the dude who, like, that's his play style. He just likes to play like he's 7'5". So, I mean, I get why Ty's saying
I
that.
love nothing more than an offensive rebound and a nice kick out for a 3-ball.
Yeah.
Get you a big early.
Ty's ideal player is
LeBron,
Boban
if you're
Marjanovic.
listening. If you're listening, LeBron.
Well, Ty's ideal NBA player probably looks like Boban Marjanovic.
Yeah.
But if I'm LeBron, I don't see why you don't take Kevin Durant. I mean, maybe it's just because him and Kyrie are friends, or because he and LeBron are really, they're trying to be cool again because apparently they had a fallout or whatever. I don't follow their personal lives, and frankly, I don't care. But if LeBron's serious about winning, just pick Kevin Durant. I'm sure Kyrie will still be there with their second pick, man.
Yeah, he probably would be. But
I think Steph's going to wind up with
it's
Giannis,
really
but
when you have these 8 guys standing right in front of you and they're staring at you just like you're at the local YMCA, and you know that you have connections with all 8 of those guys, but you're really thinking of, like, who am I going to offend if I don't pick? I mean, I know you want to have the best team, but I do think that there's some allegiances there. I don't think LeBron can look at Kyrie and be like, oh, yeah, that's just a guy I'm just going to look past and act like he's not even standing there. No, I think if he sees Kyrie, he's going to be like, yeah, I'll take Kyrie. I know how to play with that guy.
Well, is LeBron even going to be healthy to play? When does he even come back?
He should be good to go. I think he's getting back into the lineup this week, most likely. And, I mean, he's had plenty of time to recover. He's a physical specimen. He'll be fine.
quite enjoying himself last night on the bench, wearing his nice suit, and had a little vino.
Yeah, he'll be fine. But yeah, I mean, I think Kyrie's going first. But like that raises the question that does this new format, does this make All-Star festivities more fun?
Oh yeah, it makes it more fun. In the past, it was just East versus West, and you had the vote.
Yeah,
and you knew the stars were. It's kind of fun because there's an element of surprise.
Yeah,
of like, oh, who's LeBron gonna pick? Oh, LeBron didn't pick
There's
Kyrie.
drama
That's
involved now.
That's a big drama. Oh, LeBron didn't pick Kyrie. Oh no, so Kyrie's playing with Giannis. I mean.
It creates instant storylines because
it's palace intrigue.
When you have the reserve standing there too, just like in any pickup basketball situation we've ever encountered, whoever gets picked last is automatically gonna have something to prove. Like let's say Nikola Vucevic or someone like that gets in, slips in by the skin of their teeth, they're probably gonna be the last pick. They automatically have something to prove. It's like, all right, these guys didn't want me. I have to play like 10 times harder. So like it motivates the players. It gives them something to play for, and it makes it to where instead of having like 180 to 160 in the All-Star game, it's still high scoring, but it's more like 135, 140 to like 125 or something like that. And they might not be playing defense for like the whole game, but they play pretty hard defense for the last like 5 minutes, and you really get to see what it'd be like in those dream scenarios when these guys are all on the same team together. And so it's a lot more fun. I loved last year's All-Star game.
It should be noted that last year's All-Star game was still pretty high scoring. It was 148, 145.
Yeah, I see that trending downwards, honestly.
Team LeBron beat Team Steph.
Yeah. I mean, I still think it'll be high scoring, but I see that trend going down. I think that the more this happens, just the more history these guys have of one another, and the more they're going to want to actually play hard. And like I think that it'll still be probably in the 130s, 140s, but I think that that'll get lower and lower as years progress, and I think we're going to have more of like a regular basketball game. It'll be fun. What do you think, Ty?
No, I'm just really looking forward to the 3-point shootout and dunk contest, that kind of stuff. That's my cup of tea.
Yeah. I mean, that's fun too. I mean, I like that. I was really bummed to see my My man Donovan Mitchell, he's not going to defend his title in the slam dunk contest. He said that with his team in the thick of playoff contention, right now they're sitting right at like the 8 seed mark. They're kind of in a critical point where he needs to be playing his best ball, which he is playing great right now. He doesn't want to risk that by doing a dunk that, could be dangerous or lead to a bad fall. He's more focused on his team making the playoffs. I completely understand
What
it.
a guy.
Yeah.
But it's just a bummer to see him not defend that crown because last year he was so fun. But the dunk contest is always great. And I think that they are trying to fix the dunk contest because it went through a few years where it was absolutely horrible.
Oh, yeah, it was.
But
you had guys like Jeremy Evans winning it.
yeah, it was just boring. And, they didn't have him do that many dunks. And it wasn't very good. But now it's starting to get a little bit better again. And the three-point shootout's always fun. And I'm pretty sure that I heard that both Curry brothers are going to be in it.
Yes, Steph and Seth are going to be in the three-point shootout.
That'll be interesting.
So is Dirk. Dirk's going to win. He's a big.
Well,
yeah,
and then,
you're a little biased.
To your point, Matt, earlier, I did some research. It was 148, 145 last year. In 2017, when they played the last East versus West game, it was 195, 185.
Yeah, you can just tell the difference. I mean, it's still high scoring. I get that. But, I just think that it's going to get lower, and that's great because that means that there's more minutes on the court where these guys are sharing the court with each other where they're actually trying to get a stop. And you see some of those dream matchups, is James Harden going to get switched onto Joel Embiid? How's he going to play on perimeter defense? Stuff like that. You see those in games a little bit, but not as much as you're going to see in the All-Star game when all 10 players on the court are amazing players. Just kind of see how the matchups work out. I think it'll be a whole lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, and we also may see some fireworks at the trade deadline with Anthony Davis's name being thrown out there asking for a trade.
Oh, yeah, the trade deadline coming up on, I think it's February 10th. That's going to be a blast. I love the trade deadline. I literally, I always follow Adrian Wojnarowski, but on trade deadline day, I actually have it to where it gives me a notification every tweet. And I'm looking at my phone every 5 minutes because I guarantee you there's going to be some big deals made that really shift things around. A lot of teams get into the sweepstakes, and a lot of teams are willing to deal some really solid players.
Well, good teams get better. That's the point.
Good
of every
teams
trade
get better.
deadline.
Some teams that are tanking willingly get worse.
Yeah.
Sell
And
off
they
your
just look.
assets and,
Yeah.
hedge your losses, I guess.
It's
Yeah.
interesting, though, because the Pelicans are saying that they're not planning on trading AD before the deadline, which, obviously could be
I don't believe that.
could be something they're just saying. I don't know why they'd say it if they didn't really mean it, but we'll see. That implies that the Pelicans will keep Davis in the hopes that they can contend the rest of the season. A little confusing seeing as they're 23 and 28 and sitting at 12th in the West right now.
They're not contending.
And pretty much
they're
what
not
this
contenders.
means is that they're just going to hold on to AD and then
Let him walk in free agency.
he'll walk. He can opt out of his deal this offseason, so he's just going to leave, and they're not going to get compensation for him like they would if they dealt him. It'd be a kind of a bamboozling move.
If they hold on to Davis, what they're really saying is we just want to tank. We know we're losing our star. We know we're not that good even with our star. We're just going to give him up for free, start sucking, and then for the next 5 years we'll have lottery picks and maybe we'll get good again.
Sam Hinkie time.
I just don't, why wouldn't you just trade him and then get
I know
picks
they
that
can
way?
get solid stuff for Davis. They could get a unprotected first round pick from a terrible team like the Knicks or something. They can get really solid players from the Lakers. I mean, Lakers are willing to offer up Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, and potentially Brandon Ingram along with their first round pick.
Oh, and
That's a solid core to build around.
they also offered Zubac in there too.
Yeah, so
Zubac. I mean, he's
why
gonna
would you
slap.
not take that? I don't understand. I think they could take it. I'm not saying that they're going to hold on to Davis. I'm just saying, I don't know why you wouldn't. You could choose to tank or you could choose to just stay decent and, actually contend for the playoffs every year. And with a core like that, with those young guns from the Lakers who are all pretty solid players, if you have the right training staff in there, those guys will just get better and better. They're all in their low 20s. I mean, you have a really solid core.
One thing that kind of bothers me about this whole deal is the backlash that Davis is facing for saying he wants to be traded, and for that news getting leaked out. He even got fined $50,000
That's so
for
stupid.
it coming out. But really what gets me, and I think it's just the terminology that's used, that you see a lot of Davis demands a trade, and what I think happened was he just had a conversation like, yeah, I'd like to play for another team. I want to win a little bit. It was probably just a civil request. I'm sure he didn't walk into the GM or owner's office and slam his fist down on the table and was like, trade me or something like that. I just think it It just happened, and because that lingo gets thrown around, people feel a sense of animosity about it, especially Pelicans fans, which I can understand.
They start burning jerseys. They get really mad.
But just in general, then people are like, "Well, this is the mold that LeBron made back in the day, or this is the Kevin Durant thing again." And I'm not sure it is. It's just a guy wanting to play for a winning team.
Because it wasn't even him. It was from his agent Rick Paul, who was the one who said, "Oh, my client wants to be traded."
Yeah, they have nothing. They have nothing to get mad at Davis for. He's played with them for several years, and he's given them everything he's got. He's put his soul into that team. They wouldn't have been a playoff team any of those years if it wasn't for Davis. If they're complaining right now, they can go just get over it because Davis has done enough for that team.
Yeah, they have no one to blame but themselves. They could not build a winning franchise and put better pieces around him. They tried with Cousins, and it didn't work.
Yeah, he has every right to try to make himself or make a better career for himself. So if you're hearing us out there, Davis, don't feel bad. You didn't do anything wrong. We wish you the best and hope that you go to a place that really utilizes you and maximizes your potential.
We'll take you to Cleveland, bud.
No, that would be the worst thing that could happen to him. But that's all we got. Next week, we're going to try to start highlighting individual NBA or NCAA basketball teams just because we think there's a lot of great teams out there. We're preparing for that March Madness bracket.
February, man.
So we're going to probably do 2-3 teams a week, maybe more if we can fit them in. We're going to literally just do in-depth breakdowns of those teams. We're going to start at the top with Tennessee, Duke, and Virginia. So tune in next week. We're going to talk a lot of college basketball along with Super Bowl, obviously. But that's all we have for this week. We're running out of time, so we appreciate you guys for listening. I'm Matt.
I'm Ty.
Little shout out real quick to my best friend Jack Stam, listening to us live from Boston, Massachusetts.
Hey, thanks, Jack.
Thanks, Jackie. I'm Sam Roberts.
Yeah, it was a good show, and tune in next week for some more great sports conversations. So thank you very much for listening to The Bullpen on WACW.
Peace.
See ya.
You're listening to WACW.